Thank you for joining us. Josh Anderson joining me, House District 20 candidate. And we covered a couple of things there. I mean,
Sure.
it's impossible to cover everything that you want to talk about, but I think we got pretty much the things that we wanted to. And, you want to talk about equal pay, and I wanted to bring up immigration because
Sure.
that is like the hot topic now when you look at the national news. There's like 15,000 children in Nogales there where they're talking about that. Immigration, I think, will be the 2016 issue for presidential race. And I think we'll all start to see a little bit of talks happening even locally because everything is local. Everything they're dealing with national, we have to eventually deal with local at this. What are your thoughts as far as, we'll come back to immigration. Let's
Okay.
talk a little bit about equal pay. I know you brought that up.
Sure.
Give me your thoughts on the equal pay. What are your points on it? What do you would like to address as far as the equal pay is?
Well, I mean, I think we have some lawmakers in Santa Fe that have pushed really hard to bring this issue to light. I know Representative Brian Egoff is one, along with many others. I don't want to start naming everyone. I'll leave too many people out. But, just personally, it's embarrassing that we still have so many women and especially a lot of women of color that are getting paid 77 cents on the dollar for doing a job that a man does, and we need to continue to help bring that pay equity in line with each other. We have so many women that are now, the breadwinners of the house. We have so many that are single mothers raising children. We have single fathers too, but the reality is we need to respect our workforce. And
do you think the Lilly Ledbetter Act helped in any way? Because I know it was a national, they passed it a few years back with President Obama did that. I know when we look at our own state, I think we're probably looking to see what nationally is going on. We look at other states, see how they're behaving in this way. Why do you think we fall behind as far as our own state, you think? Why do you think we're not on track with that? I know because we see a huge discrepancy there between what they're getting paid.
Well, I mean, I think even as great of an item that was that the president helped push through, it at least brought the debate out, and folks,
it got us talking.
It got us talking about it. The reality is, every state, I believe, is still far behind. And what we need to do is we need to hold people accountable. And the best way we can do that is just continue to talk about it, continue to bring it out. I think the biggest problem we have is either, a lot of women that are going to work, either they just don't know, so it's hard for them to really see where they're at, and or a lot of them just don't feel like, maybe I'm going to lose my job if I talk about this. They need to know that elected officials and other coworkers, friends and family have their back. And if they need to bring this forward and they want to talk about it, they have to know that they have a network of people behind them and lawmakers that are going to support them and have their back and fight for them. I just think a lot of people feel scared, and that's why they don't speak out about it.
I think the state government, the federal government usually set the standards for how we start to have a dialogue about things like that. And I know there's, when you look at the state itself, even in the state employment, when you look at the discrepancy, there is a difference there between what the equal pay, when you look at the different, quite a bit of difference there. So private sector, I think, kind of follows what the state's doing or the federal government's doing. If you were to say you get into the legislature, would you want to have town halls, things like that, so they can educate or kind of get at least that whole ball rolling? Because this is not something that will go away.
No, it won't. It won't go away. And I want to be as hands-on as possible when I'm elected to office. Again, this is a community that I grew up in. I'm born and raised here.
Do you hear a lot about this subject, equal pay, in your community?
When I talk to a lot of folks, that really isn't the first item that comes out. It's very passionate to me. It's very important to me. Especially coming from a household where my mother and father owned a small business. My dad was out in the field. My mother stayed behind and raised us and helped keep the business going. What we need to do is we need to respect and we need to invest women that are in the workplace. Maybe 50 years ago it wasn't the norm, but it is now. And we need to do everything we can to ensure that they are paid a fair wage, as their men counterparts are, and they need to be respected and paid a wage that they deserve, and they shouldn't be treated any differently.
What are the table conversations that you hear when you're knocking on the doors? I know they don't really talk about things like that. I think these things get a little bit touchy, especially if you're dealing with couples and things like that. Individuals will come up and say, hey, look, there's unfairness there and stuff. What are the kitchen table conversations in your district? Anything?
No, I mean, again, when I'm out talking to people in the community, still all of it comes back to economic development, jobs, and education. Those really are. When you talk about around the table, it's literally about paying bills. It's about, am I going to make enough to pay bills? I was at the gas station the other day, or at Smith's, and a woman was trying to swipe her card, and it got denied. And she's like, oh, I have $13 in there. And I just kind of thought to myself, how many people are down to their last $13? And it's tough, because you see so many people that are struggling, and you just kind of wonder, well, what are they really doing to make ends meet? And I think for most people, it's how am I going to get my children to school, make sure they have a safe, good environment to learn so I can go to work and provide for them. And there's just so many people that are falling behind.
Usually these are such long conversations. I sit there and talk hours on things like that with some of my friends from both sides of the aisle, I want to move on to immigration.
Okay.
I want to bring up specifically the driver license issue, because once you're in the legislature, 2003 they passed that bill there where it says, they should have driver licenses and things like that. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think we should issue driver licenses to undocumented workers or not, or?
So I think the issue ends up becoming a huge wedge issue, and there ends up being people on both sides.
But that's
of the
also
aisle.
an economic issue.
It's also
because
an
a
economic
lot of
issue.
these individuals are working in our economic structure there. They're working in our agriculture department. They're working in the cities.
Sure.
And they have to drive. So it's a pretty hot topic.
Well, it's
a hot
an
button
economic
yeah.
issue, and it's a public safety issue. Folks that are in our law enforcement agencies, we're very supportive of this, and I think a lot of people tend to forget that now 10, 11 years later from when we passed this piece of legislation, or when,
Oh,
when it
3,
was,
yeah.
2003, so we're almost coming up on almost 11 years. Law enforcement was very supportive of this. Businesses were supportive of this. You're right about the economic development side. I mean, we're looking at a segment of a population that are going to work, providing, paying taxes, doing everything we need to do, and we focus on the driver's license issue. We need full immigration reform. I know that's a long debate. We'll see what happens at the federal level, but we need to bring people out of the shadows.
Difficult to talk about, because you're dealing with a human element there.
You're dealing
it's
with the human
very
element.
tough to just kind of brush them off and say, well, we don't want to talk about this, or it's illegal, or things like that, when you're seeing that human face.
Yes.
We're almost out of time.
Okay.
So we'll have you back.
All right,
Okay?
well, thank you. I appreciate
Come
it.
back and see us, and good luck with your candidacy.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're out of time. We'll see you next week.